You told us that you ended your employment with Columbia for multiple reasons. The first of which was that the workload had just gotten to be too much.
Correct.
And one of the reasons you gave for that is because there were only two staff left, meaning yourself and I'm assuming Ngozi Omegbu, correct?
No, actually, it was only myself and Olivia.
Okay, okay. So Olivia Clark that was brought in to
Yes.
work in the teller area for the summer. Okay, because Ngozi was
Mhm.
gone already.
Correct.
Okay, okay. Um, Before you left the bank, though,
Hmm.
we hired some new employees. I believe three new people that were brought on board before you left. Do you recall that?
No, you had I don't know if you hired three new people. Before I left, there was two other people.
Okay,
Maybe you had hired a third one, but she did not come on board. And the other two were only there. I think one was there. I think she started on August 1st. So maybe she was there 3 days or 4 days before I left.
okay. And
And
the second, I'm sorry, go
the
ahead.
other one, I do believe that she may have been hired at the end of July, but I do believe that was during the time my sister-in-law died and I was off. I had medical leave for for a week, or 4 days, 5 days, something like that. So she may have started at that time. So in all honesty, I only worked with those two new employees, maybe a total of 2 days or 3 days.
Okay. In your role as accountant, did you have an opportunity to complete some paperwork for payroll purposes for those two new employees that were there a few days before you resigned?
Yes, for two people.
And again, this is if you recall. I'm not trying to test your memory on this, but
Hmm.
um, let me just ask if you recall the dates of birth as being part of the paperwork that you filled out for those new workers.
No, I have no clue.
Okay.
Because actually, now that I think about it, I only have paperwork for one of them.
Okay. But you don't
Hmm.
recall that person's date of birth from the paperwork?
I don't.
Okay. You talked a little bit about your duties
Hmm.
at the bank, um, accounting, backup teller, administrative paperwork, and basically whatever needed to be done.
Correct.
Now, back in December 2022, after Carol left,
Hmm.
um, after Carol was placed on administrative leave, were
Hmm.
you asked at some point after that to take on some of the duties that formerly belonged to her?
Yes.
What were some of those duties that you took on after Ms. McKinney Rice was on leave?
Uh, Teller supervisor, cash, managing the vault, um, 941, 945s, taxes, escrow analysis, pretty much everything, BSA, almost everything that Carol had to do, which is when I realized how much she had to do.
Um, did Linda Kern also take on some of the duties that Ms. McKinney Rice used to do before she went on leave?
Yes. So in December, like I said, I took on all of those things. I don't remember what time of the year, maybe January or maybe end of December. Linda started doing managing the cash vault for the most part. She would manage the cash vault. I would still order the cash, but she would be the person giving the tellers the cash when they needed it.
Okay.
And along with that, she did help to process the taxes for the year. Um, and no, she already was doing the insurance. So yeah, those were the two
Okay.
things that she was doing.
Okay. So when you say doing the insurance, you mean paying for the property insurance for the properties that the bank has loans
Yes,
for, mortgages?
yes, yeah.
Okay. So it sounds like the duties that Ms. McKinney Rice formerly held were split between you and Ms. Kern, but it sounds like the majority of the duties came to you.
Correct.
Now, you were not a loan officer for the bank, true?
True.
So you weren't expected to go out and bring in loans in order to drive in revenue for the bank, correct?
No, I was not.
You were a salaried employee of Columbia.
Yes.
And what was your salary um, at the time that Ernest Jones became president of the bank? So approximately October 2022.
Oh, I do not remember offhand, but I would guess around 60, mid 60s, maybe.
So mid 60s. So you mean approximately 65,000. I'm not trying to hold you to a strict number,
Yeah,
but just
really,
give
I
us a
don't. I
ballpark.
yeah, I don't know. We'll go with that. 60. It was at least 60.
Okay. After Ms. McKinney Rice was on leave for the bank, did Mr. Jones increase your salary?
He did.
And did he increase your salary to approximately $89,000 a year?
That is what it ended up. That was not after Miss Rice left. No, that is where ended up at this year when I left. That includes 3% pay raises in between. That is not the pay adjustment that he
Okay.
gave me for Miss Rice.
Okay. So
So
what was the pay adjustment that he gave you for Ms. McKinney Rice for you taking those
he
additional duties?
he gave me an additional $19,000 a year.
So you were at least 60,000 to perhaps the mid 60s, but when you
Hmm.
took on these additional duties, he increased your salary by $19,000 a year.
Correct.
And you had health insurance with Columbia Savings.
True.
Did Columbia pay for 100% of the health insurance for
It
its
did.
employees?
Yes.
And you were able to add your all of your family members to that insurance policy?
I was.
And was that the case for other eligible employees that they were allowed to add family members to the policy?
Yes.
And the bank paid 100% of that premium, so including spouses or children if they were added to the policies.
Yes.
And that was a policy of the bank even before Mr. Jones, correct?
Correct.
But
That's
Mr.
always been
Jones,
the policy since I've been there.
okay,
That was a policy from when I started in 94.
okay. So Mr. Jones continued that policy of paying 100% of the health insurance and gave a significant, or I won't even describe it, I'll say a $19,000 pay increase for the extra duties that you took on.
Yes, but I took on the duties of someone who was making 60,000 where I'm doing the majority of her work. 19,000 is just a third of what she was making. So yeah, I know you said significant and then you changed it, but yes, it depends on how you look at significant. I took on a significant amount or more higher workload.
Okay. Um, that's fair. So as relates to the health insurance, your husband was on the policy
Yes,
and you had at one time 3 children on the policy.
yes,
And from what I understand, um, and this is delicate, but I understand that you had one child that passed away.
correct.
I didn't know you then, and so my condolences for that. And I, not trying to be difficult, but I do need to
Mhm.
ask, um, is it true that you still kept your deceased child on the health insurance policy with Columbia for more than a year after he passed?
No, if I'm not mistaken, United removed him.
If you're not mistaken, you think that that
Yeah, I'm not
happened?
sure. I'm not certain, to be honest with you. But if you're asking me, did I recall going back and checking to make sure that I removed my deceased son? No, I did not. That was not the. Whew, that was the furthest thing from my mind, was to make sure he was removed from a health insurance that was not going to save Columbia any money at all, whether his name was on there or not. The billing was the same, whether it was one child, two children, three children, it didn't make a difference. So no,
Okay.
me going back and making sure that his name was removed off of Columbia's insurance, furthest thing from my mind.
Okay. So you're telling us that um, it didn't affect the premium whether he was on or whether he had been removed.
Did not affect the premium, not 1 cent.
Okay. And you are aware of that because you were the point of contact, if you will, for the insurance provider in terms of adding and removing people from the policy, correct?
Yes,
So
yes,
that was also one of the duties that you performed for the association, was managing the healthcare provisions.
right. And that was another duty that became my duty that was not my original duty.
And so would you say that you were, if there was such a thing, the administrator for the bank's health insurance plan?
Could you repeat your question?
I asked if you were an administrator for the health insurance plan for Columbia.
I'm not certain because I never considered myself the administrator, but I did go through and add and take away.
Okay. So you were the person that if someone needed to be added to the insurance, you were that point of contact person who would handle the paperwork for that.
I was and Ernie was.
Okay.
Mhm.
Um, did well we talked, I think we may have spoken that Columbia, well no, before we get to that, let me stick with the health insurance question.
Okay.
So, all right, so because you were a person who would add or remove um other individuals from the health insurance plan, are
Mhm.
you aware that Ms. McKinney Rice was a participant in the health insurance plan for Columbia while she was
Yes,
working there? Okay.
yes,
So then after she left, did Columbia keep her on the health insurance plan?
yes.
Do you know at some point, are you aware that at some point she was taken off of the company health insurance plan?
Yes.
Can you tell us about the circumstances that led to her being eventually removed from that plan?
She was removed from the plan because how can I put this? We did not I did not have anything showing that she was any longer on the payroll, which meant that she was no longer showing up on our 941 forms. And previously United had an issue previous years before Mr. Geary left. We had an employee who stayed on our health insurance for I don't know how long, but longer than he was actually and longer than he was actually receiving payments from Columbia. And United did not renew the insurance because we were paying insurance for an employee or a former employee who was no longer employed.
Okay, so that caused some negative consequences for other employees when that wasn't handled concisely, correct?
Yes.
And um, was Ms. McKinney Rice removed from the health insurance policy in approximately January of 2024?
Yes.
Had she reached out to you to request to be removed from the health insurance in January 2024?
No.
Has she reached out to anyone to make that request?
I would not know. Not to my knowledge. Nothing was given to me.
Columbia also had a pension plan, and you're aware of that. True?
Correct. Hmm.
Were you the point of contact for the administration of the pension plan for Columbia?
Yes.
Is there, do you have any knowledge of whether or not Ms. McKinney Rice has been paid out of any pension funds that she would have had coming?
No, I have no knowledge of that. Before I left, yeah, I have no knowledge of that at all.
What about, and I'm going to circle back with a couple more questions on the pension plan, but you jogged my mind to ask something else.
Okay.
Um, do you recall whether or not Ms. McKinney Rice was paid out any of her PTO time when she went on administrative leave?
Yes. She was paid. So she left in December. I can't remember exactly when, maybe spring, maybe the first quarter of 2023 or the early part of the second quarter of 2023. She received a payment for her unused vacation and sick days, I do believe.
Okay. Do you recall about how much that payment was?
Offhand, I can't tell you, but I think it was 8,000 or
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Okay. Thank you for that. So I'm going to circle back to talking about the pension plan again. Um, did you ever add Mr. Jones as an administrator to be able to discuss the pension plan with our pension representative, with Columbia's pension representative?
No, I don't believe so. I don't remember. The pension plan was something that was not one of my original duties as well. That was something that just kind of fell in my lap in 2022 when um, when the board pushed Mr. Geary out. That was one of his duties, and
Okay.
so it kind of fell on me. And I just filled out paperwork just to get our bills paid. As far as how it's actually ran and who did what, I couldn't tell you.
Okay. So you just said something interesting, that the board pushed Mr. Gary out. Is that your
Hmm.
perception of what happened with Mr. Gary?
Yes.
Were you a part of the board?
No.
Did you ever attend the board meetings when there was discussion about Mr. Gary leaving the bank?
No.
Were you present when the board took a vote that resulted in Mr. Gary leaving the bank?
No.
So you don't have actual personal knowledge of the board pushing Mr. Gary out as you described.
I know Mr. Geary was scheduled to be there until the end of September of 2022, in which all of this transitional paperwork and stuff is supposed to be taken care of as far as pension and healthcare and all of these things. But instead of him being able to stay until September, he was asked to leave in June.
Okay. Um, so let's talk about that for a moment. Um, isn't it true that Mr. Gary um, essentially wanted you as his heir apparent to take over the presidential capacity of running this bank? He picked you
Can't
to
say that.
succeed him.
Well, you know what? No one ever told me he picked me.
Okay. So Mr. Gary never mentioned that to you?
Never said a word to me about it.
Did anyone ever approach you and say, we think that Ms. Smith, you should, consider becoming the president of Columbia Savings?
Nope.
There was never a discussion with
Never.
you.
No. No one has ever said anything to me about it.
All this while, I had the impression that you were approached, but that you declined it. But you're telling us that that's not correct?
That's not true. I don't know who gave you that impression. No one has ever told me that.
Okay, so I'm going to go back and talk about to go back to other functions of the bank that you were in charge of. We talked about the WBA insurance, but you told me that Mr. Jones also had some power and authority to remove people from the health insurance. True.
True.
And we talked about the pension plan, and you were the point of contact for that one. But you never added Mr. Jones as an administrator so that he had authority to make any determinations with the pension. True.
True.
Now I'd like to talk about the NMLS system, the nationwide multi-state licensing system that is
Okay.
used for mortgage licensing. You're familiar with that system, true?
True.
And you were, in fact, the administrator of that system on behalf of Columbia Savings and Loan, true?
True.
And you never added Mr. Jones as an administrator for the NMLS system, true?
True.
So Mr. Jones couldn't even log in to see who was listed as Columbia affiliates or make any changes in the NMLS system because you had the administrative authority, you and you alone had the administrative authority to oversee that system. True?
That's true. But again, that was one of those systems that only defaulted to me because Mr. Gary left so hurriedly. I didn't even know how to log into the system. Once Mr. Gary left, we had to go through uh, a special process in order for me to even be listed because I was not. I was added as the administrator uh, abruptly after Mr. Gary left. So the same paperwork, and honestly, now as I think about it, you jog my memory. Before I left, I did fill out paperwork to add. I don't know if it was you, Jeff, or Ernie, but I did fill out paperwork before I left for you guys to be added on. I'm not sure who it was. You could probably answer that better than me because you handled the email, but someone did have it.
Sure. As you were
But
leaving.
again, and let me also ask, say, the other reason why we didn't get to do that is because I gave you guys a letter of resignation saying that I would work until August 15th with a list of things that needed to be done before I left out of there. Those type of things, including insurance, pension, and the mortgage listing, being part of those, you guys decided you didn't want me to stay until the 15th, and you asked me to leave on that day that I gave you that you got my letter of resignation, which I think was the 5th or the 6th, whatever that day was. So a lot of these things that got dropped in between, they got dropped because you guys did not allow me to stay until the time I planned to leave.
Okay, so I missed a little bit of what you just said, but you mentioned that there were a list of things that needed to be done that you listed in your resignation letter. Could you go
Nope,
over that again?
I didn't list them in my letter as to what needed to be done. I had a list of things that I wanted to go over with you guys before I left.
Okay,
Those things were they were a part of them. Health insurance, payroll, direct deposits, um, the mortgage thing. What else was on there? Ordering cash, a lot of different things that I just wanted to go over with you guys. But instead of you letting me stay to the 15th to go over those things, you guys decided that you didn't need me any longer, and that was fine. So we parted ways at that point.
so you mentioned a list of things that you were planning to share before your actual transition out, and you just
Mhm.
told us what some of those things were.
Correct.
Did you make anybody aware of this list?
No, but John had came in and asked for a list. I had already started providing him with some of that information.
Okay.
That was the
So,
morning that I gave you guys the letter, and then by afternoon, after I had provided him with some of the information, by afternoon is when you guys were like, "Oh, you can go."
oh,
So
oh,
I left.
oh, okay. So, the list of things that you just mentioned, you were going to share with us or tell us how to access these things,
Mhm.
after you tendered your letter of resignation. True?
True.
But for almost 2 years that you had worked together with Mr. Jones, you had never tried to share that information with him previously.
Well, there was no need to share the information with Mr. Jones because Mr. Jones was never in the office to do any of the duties. Mr. Jones could never come down and stay long enough to be trained or even learn any of those processes. You said I've been here for almost 2 years. Well, you've been there as well. You were part of the thing where we were supposed to be training you guys so you could learn how to do some of the stuff as well. No one participated.
Is it that no one participated, or was it that people were very busy with schedules and other matters that had to be dealt with?
That could be possible. I don't know.
Nonetheless,
But if you
when a,
can, but if you're telling me you guys were too busy to do that, then I guess you would have been too busy to learn those things that are on that list as well. You guys did not make yourselves available.
well, I'm going to go back to my original question with
Okay.
respect to the NMLS, that you were in fact the administrator, over that, platform, um, but you never attempted to credential anyone else to assist in that role until after you had tendered your resignation from the institution.
True.
True. Let's talk about the FPS Gold system. Um,
Hmm.
that's the system that the bank has for managing loans and other customer accounts. True.
True.
Does FPS Gold also include accounting functions as part of the platform?
Yes. I think yes.
And were you also the administrator on behalf of the bank for the FPS Gold system?
Yes.
And that core system manages, strike that. As the administrator for the FPS Gold system, um, you were able to grant access to other employees of the bank for, information that they would need to access to be able to perform their work duties. True?
True.
And so, based upon their various, work assignments, you would grant the proper level of access to the employee to perform the duties that that person needed to perform. True?
True.
So if I understand correctly, let's say for instance, Monica and Rachel, who were the two tellers, were
Mhm.
granted access to teller functions,
Yes.
but they weren't granted access, for instance, to loan functions because they weren't loan officers. True?
They probably had some loan functions, but they would not have had, honestly, I can't remember, but they
Oh,
probably had some loan functions too. Hmm.
okay. Well, did the loan officers, let's just say in particular, Ngozi Omegbu, let's just say with her, did
Hmm.
she, as a loan officer, did she have access to teller functions?
She did not have access to do transactions initially.
Okay. And that's a safeguard, just in terms of having dual controls. True.
True.
But you were the person who had access and you could grant the proper permissions to anyone who worked for Columbia. True.
True.
You never gave Mr. Jones any access to have any permissions to have access to FPS Gold, did you?
Mm, yes, I did.
What access did you grant him and when did you grant it to him?
I can't tell you when, but it's been a while. Um, he's had full access. Mr. Jones had the ability to grant people access. Mr. Jones has the ability to set passwords, reset passwords. He had all the capabilities.
And how is it that you know that? Did you grant him those capabilities?
I did.
Did you make him aware that you granted him those capabilities?
I told him that. Yes, I did.
Do you, and but you don't recall when you granted him those capabilities?
No, it was more than likely it was shortly after Mr. Geary left because I needed someone else um to be able to reset passwords for if I was out of the office. But again, since there was no training and no one seemed interested in learning how to do it, I would then give those rights to other people. So for a while, Linda may have had the right to reset passwords. Just because when I needed to leave, I wasn't in office, someone else had to be able to do it.
Right. Um, was Linda aware that she had those capabilities?
Yes, I do
Wasn't
believe I
there?
gave her those. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say I gave her those capabilities. I think the first time I went on vacation and I knew I would be gone, so I set her up and she was aware. She was aware, and also Will Martin was aware.
Well, Will Martin left the bank in approximately January of 2024, correct?
Correct.
He
But
was a
Will Martin,
consult, excuse
but
me,
Will
he was a,
Martin,
go ahead.
no, go ahead.
But Mr. Martin was a consultant, not an employee of Columbia, true?
He was a consultant, but he was given the rights of an employee. So when we had more interaction with Will Martin than we did with Mr. Jones.
Okay. Because Mr. Martin was present in the bank on a day-to-day basis, true?
Right. So that would make him seem like he's more of an employee than a consultant.
Um, well, the legal technicalities aside, he left the bank in approximately January 2024, true?
True.
And Linda Kern left the bank in approximately March 2024, true?
Correct. True.
So at least from March 2024 until the time that you left, there wasn't any other person who was in the bank on a regular day-to-day basis that had the administrative access to assign permissions in FPS other than you.
Well, Ernie does. I mean, Mr. Jones did, but he wasn't there. But he had permissions. I mean, who else would I give them to? We were talking about a staff of 4 people.
And again, my question was there wasn't any other person who was present in the bank on a day-to-day basis that had that administrative discretion other than yourself. True.
True.
Columbia banks at BMO Harris. True.
True.
And you were also the administrator for all of the Columbia bank accounts. True.
True.
Was that approximately what, like maybe 5 or 6 different bank accounts?
Approximately.
And you alone were able to access and see account balances, and just basically the day-to-day oversight of those accounts. That was one of your duties, true?
I had access. True.
Did you ever
But it was not
grant
me. Go ahead.
administrative access to view those accounts to Mr. Jones?
Uh,